All right. So good afternoon. I like this. This is a nice quaint group. So thanks for coming. It's lunchtime. Hopefully you guys got something to eat. Wanted to just introduce myself. My name is Matthew Tews. I'm at Indiana University School of Medicine, and this, just like they say on the flight, is about the curriculum. So if you're not in the right place, I will give you one pass and you can get up and walk out. But we're talking about the medical student curriculum here, and I'll have my co-presenters introduce themselves in a moment. But we are talking about updating the emergency medicine medical student clerkship curriculum and why the time is now. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We hope to get that across to you today. And I'll go through a few more things in just a moment. But why don't we have our panel introduce themselves, where they're from, and we'll get started.
Okay, I'm Doug Brandon from the University of Washington.
You got a fan club. Ooh. And- All right, that's a good start. And we have, if you raise your hand, Tom, Sarah, Andrew, Mark, and Chris are out in the audience here. So raise your hand real quick. They're going to be helping us today. We have a interactive piece of this too. So we're going to go through a few things. The format of this real quick is going to be, we're going to talk a little bit, just do some panel stuff, talk about some background information, talk about where we're at with some of these curriculum updates. We're actually going to attempt to break into some small groups because we actually want to get your feedback. So we might actually have some groups go out in the hall or something just to spread out a little bit because we have about 8 facilitators. So I think we probably can get maybe 2 to 4 people in a group and just to have discussions, and we'll explain all that when we get there. So I'm hoping then we'll have some time for some feedback from the groups. And for those of you who are members of CDEM or know about it, the CDEM business meeting is at 3:30 today, and we will also be presenting during that time and getting more feedback. So a lot of this is about we're sharing with you, but we want some feedback. And our next round of survey is actually open, and we will be pushing that out here at the end of this session and at the business meeting also. So looking forward to get feedback from everybody. We won't be using as many slides here today. The point is we want to kind of try to stay interactive. But to get started for today, there are a couple minor disclosures. I have a chapter with up to date, and I think, Doug, you had something. So it said no disclosures, but nothing that we're doing here interacts with the curriculum part of that we're working on. So there's no disclosures from that point of influencing our curriculum work. So these are our objectives for the session. I think understanding some of the background, what we're going to go into is important. Talk about the need for this curriculum, look at the methods we're using, and then part of the synthesis of this is us sharing with you kind of where we've been, and then you sharing with us kind of your perspectives too. How many of you filled out or at least saw that first round of survey that got sent out on the listserv or were at court and filled it out? We got a few? Okay, perfect. So today's a good day then for you guys to be able to give your input then too. We're looking forward to it. Real quick, just some background here. CDEM, we're doing this on behalf of the CDEM executive team and the curriculum and assessment team because our vision is to be the voice of undergraduate medical education for emergency medicine, and we're fulfilling that by digging into the curriculum and really trying to make a great resource for all medical students to be used at all institutions. So some of you probably know these, maybe some of you have actually used them, but the curriculum development has actually been a progression of needs. So as the 4th year started, there was a need for a 4th year clerkship. Then 3rd year, there is a need, well, we don't have anything in the space of a 3rd year. So that was developed. And then pediatrics also, well, there's nothing that really outlined what we need to teach our learners on a PEDS EM rotation or have a PEDS EM curriculum. So this was a progression of things. You can see the dates up there. And a lot of work went into this with a lot of our colleagues who have, gone before us as far as the CDEM roles and are onto other things now, and some still involved pretty heavily. But there are a lot of resources out there. So our goal isn't to supplant any of it. Our goal is to answer a core question that we're going to have Dr. Franzen pull together for us. And just real quick, here are some of the resources that have actually been created by CDEM members. It's actually pretty impressive when you think that CDEM really started in 2008. And, in the last, how many years is that now? 16, 17 years. A lot of resources have been created and are used by people. And we have an active curriculum and assessment committee that actually manages this, that's led currently by Dr. Seacon. So a lot of work goes into this, a lot of thought, a lot of your colleagues have been involved over the years. So this isn't done in isolation, and that's why we want this to be an interactive process, because we're trying to figure out what are the true needs across our country as far as our clerkship needs. So I'm going to pass the torch now on to the next person here. And the first question I have for our panel members, we may not need to give them a microphone, but maybe not. Yeah, I think it's probably fine. So one of the things I think is good to hear some background. So Dr. Seacon, how did this project come to be? Like, this is a big project. Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Tom Seacon. My role is I'm like the chair of the committee for CDEM. And this is the project I'm really passionate about, because I think those over the years on the prior slide, we first created the 4th year medical curriculum, then the 3rd year medical curriculum, then the PG medical curriculum. This happened in 2006, 2010, and you guys probably realized the UME landscape has changed, right? There's a lot more core curriculums. Now a lot of schools have shortened pre-medical curriculum, like 1.5 year. Even some schools have like longitudinal. And as we kind of update these chapters and create assessments, we sort of realize that there's a core body of emergency medicine knowledge that every graduating medical student needs to know regardless of what they go into. And we recognize this need to create this curriculum so that every medical school around the year, every program director, they know what kind of knowledge they're getting regarding emergency medicine. And that's sort of where this sort of bubbled up from. Just going to leave our members and committee and recognizing that, the curriculum has changed, not siloed from back in the day for 4th year and 3rd.
And what's CDEM exec's position on all this as far as their support and stuff?
Yeah, CDEM is very, very supportive. We're very glad to see them at this meeting. They're fully on board and happy to help fund actually our system piece as well. So, we have to support as well.
Yeah, so I think a key takeaway is really this is, again, a group of CDEM members really kind of taking another hard look at this and trying to move it along, but a little more organized. And part of it actually, a lot of these groups were not originated exactly from CDEM. They kind of, because CDEM was so new, that just a bunch of CDEM members got together and said, hey, we'll work on an issue. Now this has kind of been driven by CDEM, supported by their exec, and also supported by SAEM as we've had needs and different things like that. They've been very helpful. And SAEM also still supports the testing platform that currently is used. So this is a larger project than just us saying, hey, let's work on this. All right, well, thank you for that. So Dr. Franzen, so from your standpoint, tell us about the kind of foundation that CDEM's created. We've heard a little bit about it, but I know you've been around pretty much since the beginning of CDEM, and I'd love to hear a little more about some of the background.
Yeah, so, as you said, the original curriculum was made in 2006, and then that was a pretty broad-reaching curriculum, and what happened with the revision in 2010 was we kind of realized a lot of clerkship directors said, this is a lot of stuff, we can't cover this in my standard, 4-week, 4th-year rotation. How are we going to get through all of this? And so the lens kind of shifted a little bit, and we said, well, a lot of these things are being covered on the 4 rotations. We'll leave those out of the curriculum, and we'll kind of focus on filling in the gaps of that core curriculum, or that isn't being covered in that core curriculum. And that's where the 2010 revision kind of left things, and that's why we have this weird mishmash of topics when we look at the CDEM curriculum now. There's environmental and snake bites and stuff like that that isn't really covered, on your general surgery rotation or your internal medicine rotation. But what has happened in the interim is we've really realized that when and where emergency medicine is happening, it's not at all standardized. As you alluded to, we have longitudinal clerkships, 3rd-year clerkships, 4th-year clerkships. And so what's happening is students are sort of falling through the cracks. They're coming to emergency medicine without the benefit of those 4 rotations. And we just need to sort of outline that stuff. In addition, all of the assessments have shifted, right? We have the SAEM assessment, we have the NBFE ACE exam. And as a person who writes questions for those tests, I think we sort of implicitly, I don't know if anybody disagrees, but implicitly assume that students have this knowledge, and it's not really explicitly stated anywhere in the curriculum of, like, you need to know surgical emergencies and OB emergencies and medicine emergencies. We all sort of assume that students are getting that on their 3 rotations, but if they haven't had those rotations, that's not really fair for them to know that they're supposed to know this stuff that they haven't even encountered yet.
So tell us a little bit about like why the time is now, and some of the guiding principles, like how we got here.
Yeah, well, I think the time is now because we're 15, 20 years down the road from when we started. When the curricula first came out, we really had the intention of revising them, pretty regularly. I think COVID sort of threw a wrench in the last big revision.
Yeah.
And so we're a little bit out of date. And I think part of it too, as we were talking about doing the revision, instead of, let's dust off this dusty pneumothorax chapter and freshen up the links to the website a little bit, we said, let's really think about what the students really need to know. I think we got a little bit lucky with the revisions to the ACGME, suggested changes to the residency program. This is a great time in emergency medicine to think about these big picture and, what are the next 10 years or so of emergency medicine education need to improve.
Yeah, and I think a lot has changed in that time too. I think revisions to a lot of core things like the model of EM practice, EPAs, even the NCAT, the National Clinical Assessment. There's a lot of things that have come out that just they're pieces, and we're trying to figure out how does it come together as a whole so we can use this as a true curriculum and make sure that the students understand what they need to know. And Doug, I'll let you take this, but I think this is kind of how I'm happy to go through it if you like, but this is kind of our core mission.
Yeah, no, I think that's the idea here, right? It's, going back to, we're not trying to dictate what people should be teaching on their clerkship, but rather create a roadmap, if you will, of all the things that we think the graduating students should know, whether they're going into emergency medicine or not, whether they did the clerkship in their first year or their fourth year, if they walk out the door of medical school, what do we think they should know? So that clerkship directors can use that essentially as like a checklist, right? Did my student get this? It doesn't matter if they got it on your clerkship or on surgery or on medicine or as part of an after-school workshop or whatever. Just, are they walking out the door with this knowledge, these skills, these attitudes?
Yeah, so I like to think of it as just imagine any student that has had emergency medicine core rotation. They could come into any residency program and regardless of the specialty, they know, okay, I know what you got in emergency medicine. You should be at a place that, whatever it might be, you actually know ACLS, you know how to approach chest pain and rule out an MI, whatever it might be, that should be common knowledge, and we should be very public about that. I think right now with our dearth of resources, there's a lot out there. We're working to consolidate that and imagine a world in which every student who gets an emergency medicine rotation leaves with the same knowledge, skills, attitudes, understanding of emergency medicine as a specialty, and not to convert them to it, but that, hey, we want everybody out there to know these things so that when they get to their residencies, it hopefully makes it a better place for all programs. Big goal, but certainly we're working on it. All right, so now from the standpoint of kind of where have we been and where are we going with the process, Dr. Chandra, would you mind going through that for us?
Yeah, sure. So it seems like a big ask. So the way that we started it is we tried to get all of the resources that we could find that had emergency medicine information, education. So all the curricula that we mentioned earlier and a couple of others. And we brought all of those topics together and made a very planned list. And we decided to go through it through a mock identify process using 2 expert groups as our core groups that we're going to do the reiterated process of the consensus through the mock identify process. So we have 2 expert teams. The first team has most of our members here. It's the main team that we introduced earlier. And then the second team were other EM educators, coaching directors, or such who are involved in EM education from kind of across the country to get the representation geographically as well. And we went through survey processes. So our first survey, we used the entire list of topics that we had put together. And the question we asked was, is this topic important to teach students? Any student going into any residency, whether they're interested in EM or not, do they need to know this when completing EM culture? And so that was our question, and it was we then got agreement over each of these topics. Between all of those, we want to get feedback from the larger group. So those who are at full notice that we sent a similar survey out to each member of the listserv and at court, and we got a bunch of feedback from you all and incorporated that into our second round of surveys to our expert group to try and do that second round of is this important or not. And we got survey results from there. And now we are going into our second round of surveying that to people in the audience here, and that's what we're going to be receiving now. Our plan going forward is obviously continue to get feedback from you, but specifically to also get feedback from residents and students, particularly about not just the content, but the depth of the content, the mode of delivery, what worked online versus, lectures versus, in-person workshops, et cetera, and get that information so that we can start to develop a set of objectives, and then instruction strategies around it. And then as we go forward, we're gonna go ahead and create that curriculum, put all the resources together, have them online for people to look at. And then our plan for the fall is to actually culminate all of that into a virtual kind of educational consensus conference where we can all get together and vote on and talk about all of these final topics that we come out of after 3 or 4 rounds of expert surveys, and hopefully get as much feedback from as many stakeholders as possible so that we can get the curriculum that means something to do. And the other part of it was, even if it's not part of our core curriculum, we're hoping that you have that, the rest of the resources available to you as supplemental options, because everyone is in a different medical system, in a different medical school with different requirements, in different states that have different requirements. So we're not trying to say, this is not important, but if there are other things that you need to teach or want to teach, you should be able to provide that information via supplemental resources, or at least a list of topics that we think might be in semester days as well. So that is, right now, we're sort of on that kind of halfway through to try and get through it.
Okay, thank you. And just if you're wondering, here are all the individuals who have been involved to this point. So thank you to everybody for participating. And as you can see, it is a diverse group of institutions. And so we're trying to make sure we have that broad representation. All right, well, thank you. So I think in moving on here, and then we'll get some feedback from the group, Dr. Thompson is going to go through kind of the results in short. I think there's a lot that goes into this, and we'll show kind of an example of how we compared things. But she's going to go through just a high-level overview, and then you will see the results where we're at currently survey 2. So.
Okay, so with our first survey to our expert groups, after we kind of come through and made our master list, we initially started with 157 individual topics, which that's so huge for us to try to cover in a given culture for presently 4 weeks. And so we sent all of those items out to our first round of experts and tried to divide these topics into the high, middle, and low perspective, should they be part of the national curriculum. Once we were able to kind of whittle down that list, we posed it to the CDEM collective as well. And based on that survey, a great majority of those agree with our experts on what we feel like is high agreement items that should remain in the curriculum, as well as low agreement items that should eventually be removed from the core curriculum. And so I don't know if you can put that slide up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of how we conceptualized it. So we're looking at an approach to altered renal status. We had our expert groups 1 and 2 weigh in. We calculated improvement between those. So altered renal status had perfect agreement here. And then we put that to the CDEM collective and say, hey, we agree with this block of topics that have high agreement if you find is greater than 0.7, and 93% of this collective agree that that should remain in the curriculum. And so we did have some intermediate items that were results of our first round. And so a lot of those kind of were bashed into procedural topics as well as some pediatric topics, and we're going to need further feedback on those. And then some low agreement items that we feel like should not be in the curriculum, kind of bashed into more environmental, especially presentation for geriatric population and those types of things. Again, not saying they're not important, just maybe not part of the core curriculum for all partners. So after we were able to kind of whittle down the list of 157 on the first round, now we did our second round, which had 98 items. So we did 157, 98 progress. And so that has gone out to our second round expert groups. And so we had about 37% had perfect agreement on the expert group 2 survey. And so what we would hope on this next round from the collective is the 51% of intermediate items that we feel like should be included or not. And so that's going to be maybe at the bulk of the survey that would be something else you guys can.
Okay, great. Thanks for explaining that. So you can see we're kind of whittling our way down, trying to continue to make progress. We've noticed that there's some items that just have really consistent agreement. The ones that, curiously enough, have had perfect agreement from everybody the whole way through have basically been approach to chest pain, shortness of breath, trauma, sepsis, and what was the last one? It was abdominal pain, and then how to interpret an EKG for a STEMI. Curiously enough, those stayed at pretty much everyone said this is something we have to continue. So we got some really high agreement. The groups that we had, there's a total of 27 of your colleagues that had done this. And then when we sent the survey out for round one to the CDEM collective, both at court and after, we had 84 respondents. So you can see there's a lot of people weighing in on this, and we're looking through the details and trying to refine it. So we're going to move on. I'll pause real quick. Any questions for our panelists at the moment? Because I'd like to move us into kind of some of our small group interactive time. Yes.
Great. When you say trauma, what does that mean? What was it? Hypovolemic shots? How does it?
Yeah, and that's going to be the next part and it's a great question because that's what we decided, and this was after much discussion, the start would be let's look at content because I think that'll be probably the way we can conceptualize emergency medicine. But after that, we're going to start to say, well, if it's approach to trauma, okay, what is actually important about that topic, and start to create goals and objectives around that. And the larger picture is then also mapping that out and creating a blueprint for the exams so that they're updated like that. So that'll be part of the next process that we'll be getting feedback about too. So go ahead.
Then for anyone going into any specialty, is there input from other specialties?
So we have a group that's looking at the other required clerkships, and we're going to cross match and look at the curricula they have proposed, like STFM for family medicine, neurology. I think they have clerkships out there that they published and that they use, and we're just going to look at it from that standpoint. So that's going to be our starting point. I think this will be an iterative process because there's a lot, but I think our initial was to say, what do we think, and then compare that to our other colleagues and their specialties. Because again, I think we want to be able to present what's unique about emergency medicine, not just have them do another chest pain lecture where they talk about, etiology and pathology and, things like that. We want to get to the core of what EM is, and they will learn a lot of other things on their other clerkships. So, yes.
Getting that is this designed just for a or a little continuum of their medical education? So, for example, like if there's recommendations for having care, that might spark those institutions to talk with their leaders from that. Other things, there are different phases of curriculum into medical.
Yeah, very much so. So this is focused on clinical clerkship rotation. We talked about that too. I think the preclinical stuff and the SIGs and transition to residency courses, that's a big lift. I think what we're trying to do is say, here's the core, and we're hoping, and we'll work again as CDEM and anybody else, just like what's the trickle down effect and how we can continue to make that a reality across the continuum. But these are great questions. So, but it's one of those things we have to start somewhere and we have to decide at some point. And so I think, we have good discussions about this, but we're going to continue. So here's what I like to do is there's probably we have about 8 people, I think, that can take a small group. We will give you the items that we're putting on the survey. We're going to ask a series of questions. We're going to ask these questions to you. I'm going to give you about 12 to 15 minutes, just depending. If you guys can work with your group facilitator, answer the questions, and then if you come back at 12:40, then we'll just do some report outs from the groups. I know some people might escape, and that's fine. But we'd love to have you come back because we actually do want to hear from you. I think what we'll do is I think we can probably get about we can probably take about 4 to 5 in a group. So raise your hand if you're a facilitator for a group. So Mark, why don't you just take a group in the back there? You guys go out in the hall and just find a place and go through the questions. We're going to take some notes. Raise your hands again for my facilitators. So Chris, why don't you just grab a group here too, and why don't you guys head out in the hall? And then Andrew also, why don't you grab a group in the back and head out in the hall? And then let's have everybody else just kind of break up in here, and then hopefully that divides us up enough. And we'll see you back at 12:40.
I called it.
All right. Probably got some people escaping, so just get some. That is bright. Yeah, here, you guys can just, here, sit here and. Yeah, just go grab some.
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions like from my perspective on how so the solution is how we're that's the so
In the process
All right. You guys have some good discussions. I gave you a few more minutes. Please wrap up your discussions in the next minute. All right, welcome back. Go ahead and wrap up here. All right, I think both groups are back from the hall. So thanks for contributing, and we're going to just do a brief report out here. We chose this format, even though the room's not set up for it, because you get so much information through discussion. I think these rich discussions help us make sure we're on the right track too. So thank you for all your input. And we have documented it, and we'll review it and take that all into consideration. But why don't we just do one takeaway from each group, just given the amount of time. I'll let you pick the question that you feel like would be the question you want to do a takeaway from. So does that sound good? Just so that we can stay on track here. I know people have other things they have to go to. So how about we start, Shruti, I think, how about your group?
Yeah, sure, actually. Mark is up.
Oh, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
I had Blackie.
is a nod to us as EM educators, but one of the comments about what's worked well is we were unexpectedly thorough in this. And they wasn't just like, one of what we need to better listen to the voices of members. Doug acknowledges as a EM clerkship director influencer. So one of the ideas being like putting more stuff on a listserv doesn't always yield results very well in that part of these things. But if we're sending information out, maybe those key stakeholders can pass it along and coming from
Sure.
people making it local and sometimes get a little bit more buy-in from people. So you folks in our group and folks in the room will see this stuff and come up with people around you that are really in a career and just students to get everyone done better than just us last year.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Well, since Doug, you were mentioned, do you have any takeaways from your group?
There's a lot,
Just pick one.
I think one of the big ones is probably the importance of leveraging technology. As we talked about, I don't know if anybody remembers the things that Michelle Lynn had made, where you could work through the different cases and click around parts of the patient and stuff like that. But, resources like that, because, it's going to be difficult to get through all of this. And it certainly can't be done without standing in front of the whiteboard. So what are things where, students can work on this stuff asynchronously, and how can we deliver this curricula in ways that is, more efficient, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, love it. That's great. How about over here, Meredith or Andrew, either one of you?
Sort of, just to piggyback off of that, I think one of the points that came in our conversation was, as we discussed, tying back to assessment, and so being a bit transparent in the topics that are going to be blueprinted to the assessments, and providing resources that us as clerkship directors can either integrate into our clerkship, or if we're intentionally not integrating those topics for our own curricular purposes, like pointing students toward those resources and saying, like, you just ready these at home because they're going to be important from our assessments as well.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, we had talked about a teaching toolbox and how that could look for the clerkship director. So, Meredith?
So, our group brought out that, what we used to do is kind of come on this heterogeneous, I should say, state of how EMS delivered and possible. And so, it was about, what about those who only have a 2-week trip? And so, there could be some guidance on what are like the top for those who have a very abbreviated experiences, when we're kind of putting it out there. We love it also maybe some resources to help advocate for more information for those more experience.
Okay. All right, great. Thomas?
Yeah, I don't know if I stuck exactly to the structure here, but I'm hearing a lot of the same things coming up. One of the things that we identified, I think, really has to do with, like, as we look at the list of topics that we would have down to, is sticking with that kind of approach to topic more than anything else, because what came out of this group was the clinical reasoning aspect, that how you get to the diagnosis rather than just the facts is, I think, one of the most important things in emergency medicine, is maintaining that as we kind of progress forward. And then a lot of similar kind of ideas with how to use tech and make other mediums by which to do this.
Yeah, excellent. Good thoughts. Sarah?
A lot of similar thoughts here, but also talking about mapping to the assessment, not only the EM clerkship, but also thinking about in terms of step 2 and what contribution we're adding to the life of the students' knowledge, and making sure that some of the things that maybe didn't score as high but are still key to that are being.
Okay, excellent. Did I miss anybody of our facilitators? The one and the only.
So first off, our group had a very vibrant discussion. We had lots of points. Some things that were different is that those are built up our list. So more things that are important to emergency medicine that may have a discussion no matter what. So like, keyword expressions and conquers skills without knowledge base is not represented in our curriculum. That's not very formative for me. In addition, like mapping and RCEs, practical experiences, making sure that that's like curriculum or assessment, writing that current experiences is helpful for our learners, both mapping and in addition for like reaching our members, we should reach out to our students and residents, of course, reach out to grants later on, well as verification related to those groups, that are facing as well.
Yep, and RAMS is on the schedule of next surveys and feedback. And we actually just really quick, we actually talked about teamwork, professionalism, patient presentations, things that all students need to have. And at our last meeting, and one of the consensus that we had was just like, they just need to be a part of the curriculum regardless. So I don't know that we need to really go through a voting process on them, we will figure out how to incorporate those. So we'll work to be more clear on that. That's why you saw them on the lower scoring items, because I think people are like, this is not testable. This it just is like it should be an expectation. So, all right, Chris, wrap us up.
Yeah, no, I think, lots more discussion, like we had a lot of different graders. One of the big opportunities that was brought forward by, the group that I was talking about was, in whittling down these topics, I think there's gonna be a lot of benefit, maybe we're able to look at the forefront, focusing on things that students likely aren't gonna be exposed to, or things in their core curriculum, or things that they're just gonna be exposed to in the morning, which is important. That are brought in thinking, like, pneumonia is something that probably with Steve, medicine or family medicine, so we may not need to do that in emergency medicine, even though it's obviously for an emergency position, would be part of like a core content. It may not need to be part of the core content for
Okay. Well, we're only 2 minutes over, which is actually a miracle. So thank you guys all. Appreciate your feedback. And if you have time, come to the CDEM meeting. I think the group, if you have the survey link, show it to the people around you. And you guys are welcome to take the actual survey. Thank you.